Bing. Don't know what happened to that little bowl. Good morning. Glad to see everybody here. And I want you to know that light and joy and peace abide in you. Let us quiet our minds and open our hearts as we read the centering thought together, followed by the prelude. Joy is the holy fire that keeps our purpose warm and our intelligence aglow. Helen Keller.
For the prelude today, I will be playing two rather joyous, bouncy pieces by Minnesota composer Libby Larsen.
I don't know how you do it, but you always find some wonderfully different and appropriate piece of music. And it's always really hard, too. Thank you all for joining us this morning in person and on Zoom. Summit is a liberal religious community bound together by shared principles drawn from world religions, humanist teachings, nature and science, philosophy, and personal practices. We are a religion of love and inclusion. The mission of Summit is to commit ourselves to building a more compassionate, just, and sustainable world. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism, as Garrison Keillor would say, if you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to Summit and would like to know more about us, we invite you to go to our website, summituuf.org, click on the visitors button, and fill out our online connection card. Someone will follow up with you. For more than 10,000 years, the Kumeyaay people lived on this land, stretching from the shores of the Pacific Ocean south to Ensenada, east to the sand dunes of the Colorado River in the Imperial Valley, and north to Warner Springs Valley. We acknowledge that this fellowship resides on unceded Kumeyaay land and honor the continuing presence of the Kumeyaay Nation. We'll have the chalice lighting. Ari will light the chalice and I will read the words. Do not sit alone in the dark while creation sings three-part harmony. Dance, my friends, dance wildly as the beloved turns your soul to light. Okay, if you will stand as you are willing and able when we sing our UU hymn, first in Spanish and then in English. Are you singing it?
I'm singing it. No.
Oh, everybody.
Excuse me. No.
Okay.
You're all singing it.
All together. Number 1060.
You're all singing this.
Wait. The teal hymnal, the reason that I passed out a bunch of these, and you may not have gotten one, but if you can, especially if you can read music, we need you on this one because we haven't sung this very often and the tune's a little complicated. And because of that, I'm going to play just an unadorned tune, melody, one time through, and then Pierre will lead you in singing.
As we sing of hope and joy today, some know only anguish and despair. How can we lift our voices in this way while some have none and misery to spare? If a crumbled world we would renew, we must sing no ordinary song, a resisted compassion must belong. Let this song of credit hopes contain. Laughter from a ill-fed child is too. Roost over every heartbeat, its refrain, its harmony from peaceful cities' hue. Sing of joy while hammering each nail. Sing of hope while pulling every weed. From contested houses another need. May every hallelujah bear its seed.
Time for all ages.
Well, good morning. Woof. I am back from camp to Benneville Pines, and I had two versions of the story prepared for you today. And I see children coming in, so I may have to shift. See you, Wesley. So, before I start, I want to let you know that this afternoon our OWL program begins for our 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. They're going to have a 2-hour session at 1 o'clock. So some of our families are moving in a little slow in anticipation of that. So if you're wondering why families aren't moving in, we have 5 families participating. It's really exciting. So super thrilled about that. So I'm just back from Camp to Benneville Pines, my second week up at camp this month of July. And this time I was there as dean, part of the dean team for our senior high camp. So come on in, Wesley. Hi guys, come on in. I was up there for elementary camp, where Mason was there. Watch out, there's a hot mic, be careful. Here, let me hold that. Know your audience. Always a good thing. So I was up there for elementary camp, and you were with me. We had a good time. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. This week I was up there for senior high camp, where I had deaned solo last winter. And this camp I deaned in partnership with another adult who had been a camper with me, let's see, 10 years ago, and now in their late 20s, partnered with me as an adult leader. And the two of us had, for the first time, 2 youth who were youth deans with us. We are bringing back the youth running their own camp for the first time since COVID. This is huge. I'm gonna get teary a little bit. These are tears of joy. You know, we can cry when we're sad, and we can cry when we're happy. These are happy tears, because this is a really beautiful thing that's happening. And there were so many small moments of joy. And I just wanted to share with you that it's really tough for a lot of these young people right now. They're finding their feet again after a hard time. And the ways that they're finding them, when we allow them to be authentically who they are, when we create these spaces where they can move into who they are so precious. And as the adults, our role up there was to make that space and to hold it and to get out of the way. And sometimes there was some serious adult resistance to that. And Patty, my co-adult, our role was to hold the adults and say, it's okay, come over here. They're doing their thing, and we can hold them. So the small moments of joy that I wanted to share with you, one of the youth deans came back and said, I just went down to the creek and put my feet in the cold water. So for those of you who've been to camp, the creek has so much water in it. It has waterfalls. That's a big deal. The lake has so much water in it that you could go canoeing Mason and I went canoeing, and he splashed me. He put a gallon of water in my lap because he canoes like a kayaker, right? A whole gallon of water right in my lap. It was really fun. It was wonderfully warm, so it was great. That was another small moment of joy. Other small moments of joy. We had Reverend Christine Dance up there for the first time from Phoenix, Reverend from Phoenix. She was supposed to go last summer, and the day before camp started, got COVID and couldn't go. So this was her first time. And the very first night, we were about to do our first opening service, standing down there in the amphitheater. She was getting ready, and just like sort of pausing to gather herself, and I pointed at the sugar pine. If you've been there, you know which pine I'm talking about, the sugar pine right by the little amphitheater. I said, go stick your nose in the sugar pine, see what it smells like. And if you ever get to go up there, sniff a sugar pine. It smells like a mixture of vanilla cream soda and root beer. Yeah. So she went over and she sniffed it, and the joy that came off of that sugar pine, her face after she smelled it, she was like, oh, the wonder and the awe. Like that is the joy that can take you on. And one of my favorite, most joyful moments was the dance. I know you're going to talk a little bit about dancing. We have this evening where we dance at the last night of camp with senior high. And you think about how many people remember a high school dance? Yeah, that's kind of fraud, isn't it, for some of the memories? Well, high school dance at senior high camp is everybody just joyously dancing together, just in groups and just having a good old time. The lights are low, and I have my scooter, my little electric scooter, because I had one hip repaired and another one about to repair it, and camp is full body action. So my physical therapist said, take your scooter. Well, I brought up some lights for my scooter. So they decorated it. It was like one of those car shows where they put all the fancy lights on they did my scooter that way. So it had little red lights all around the bottom and all this fancy lighting on the top. So I was dancing around in my scooter, electric scooter, dancing around the dance. It was so fun, it was so joyful. And then some of the kids were coming over going, can I take a ride? They turned it on slow on turtle mode. And I would let them ride very slowly with me walking right alongside them to make sure nobody got hit. But it was just really, really beautiful, small moments of joy that were so crucial to our whole experience, right? Did you have any small moments of joy you want to share? You remember? You don't. No pressure. No pressure. So when you're in whatever work you're doing and you see something, just take a breath, take a pause, hold that tiny moment. That for me got me through all the hard moments. And sometimes I got moved to a little tear. I had to recognize that joy in that tear. So I hope that inspires you to hold on to those tiny moments, because they give you the energy to move through the tough one. So that's my little story for you today. Thank you. And now we're going back there. We're going to play with some cardboard, and we're going to make some things. You ready? All right, let's go make some games. Okay, let's go check it out. So excited. I haven't seen them for a week. We got things to do.
Now is the reading. Come, come, my beloved. You have unveiled 1,000 faces of love, all of them residing right here in my heart. You are my speech. Tell me my secrets. Rumi. And speaking of Rumi, the speaker today is Ari Honarvar. She's a writer, an activist, and artist dedicated to building bridges between the arts, social justice, and well-being. She conducts resilience through joy workshops on both sides of the U.S. and Mexico border and in Europe. Her work has been featured in The Guardian, Washington Post, The New York Times, and elsewhere. She is author of Rumi's Gift, Oracle Cards, and her critically acclaimed novel, A Girl Called Rumi, is based on Ari's experience growing up in post-revolution Iran. And I noticed that she's got some things, the book and the cards out in the foyer if you're interested in purchasing afterwards. Ari?
Thank you so much, Jenny. Can you hear me all right? I tend to speak softly, so let me know if I need to increase the volume. What a beautiful gathering you are. I'm so thrilled to be here. And thank you, Pat, whose spirit is here right now. I understand she was the person who recommended me for today. And let me tell you my story. I was born in the majestic city of Shiraz, Iran. It's the city of poets and wine. But when I was 6, my life turned upside down. The Islamic fundamentalists took over the government, and women lost their right to ride a bicycle or sing in public. And just as this war on women was becoming our new normal, Saddam Hussein of the neighboring country took advantage of the internal turmoil and started a war that lasted 8 years and took countless lives. We were attacked from the outside, and we were attacked from within. There was an actual war with random missile attacks, bombings, and people were so afraid. They were so on the edge that a door would slam too loudly and someone would have a heart attack. Children started getting gray hair. And then there was a war on joy, which hurt in a different way. Our favorite pastimes became a crime. The morality police went to work and started cracking down on music, dancing, playing cards, being outside without hijab for women. And so hundreds and thousands of people took to the streets to protest these draconian measures. But the regime's tactics became even more brutal. People started getting killed, executed. They were attacked by batons. They were jailed. So this took a profound toll on our system, because when there is a war on joy, there is also a war on people's coping mechanisms. Our collective spirit wilted. We couldn't sing, we couldn't dance, we couldn't literally let our hair down. We couldn't express ourselves. So our resilience and mental health took even a greater setback. But intuitively, we knew we needed joy to survive difficulties. So we had 2 options. One, to become more resourceful in how we brought joy into our lives. And 2, take risks that could end our freedom or even life. And we did both. Most of us did both. We took dangerous risks to partake of normal activities like throwing a birthday party. When you say this out loud, it sounds like something from a dystopian novel, but we lived it. Millions of us lived this. What I noticed as a child was that those who were able to cope with these grueling circumstances, they were able to summon joy through creativity, dancing in private, in stealth dancing and music, and just having fun, being playful, painting. Those adults did much better than those who were constantly worried and stressed out. And a new body of research shows that that intuitive approach is right on. When we focus on pleasant moments and joy instead of the stress in our lives, it increases our resilience. It allows us to become more capable of dealing with challenges. And there's even a term for this. It's called savoring intervention. And I gave a TED Talk a couple of months ago about this. And one of the stories that I talked about was how when I was a kid, during the Iran-Iraq War and all this oppression, I experienced my first savoring intervention just spontaneously. So during the war, we would go to our rooftops when we were particularly brave, and we would watch the anti-aircraft missiles shoot up into the air. To my 7-year-old eyes, these amazing patterns rivaled the most magnificent 4th of July fireworks. But underneath that awe, there was terror in my belly. Who was the lottery of death going to get next? Was it going to be me, my sister in Tehran, my best friend, my teacher? And then from another rooftop, someone would shout a verse of Rumi out into the clear night air. بر همگان گر ز فلک زهر ببارد همه شب من شکر اندر شکر اندر شکر اندر شکرم. Even if from the sky poison befalls all, I am still sweetness, wrapped in sweetness, wrapped in sweetness, wrapped in sweetness. And a passerby from below would respond in poetry. دیگرانت عشق میخوانند و من سلطان عشق. ای تو بالاتر ز وهم این آن بی من مرو. While others are singing about love, I am the Sultan of love. Verses like that go to your right into your 7-year-old heart and radiate to every cell of your being until you're everything and nothing at the same time, and your world is as glorious as 13th century mystics. And what bomb could ever touch that? This savoring intervention made a profound impression on me. Can you guess? Can you tell? I was so, it led to this lifelong curiosity. I wrote a book about savoring interventions based on my childhood and how, when you have everything is taken away from you and you can find this internal safe sanctuary within, even in the worst of circumstances, you can take refuge there. I wrote about how I cut my hair and pretended to be a boy and just tried to just glean every bit of joy out of life, and how storytelling and poetry was a salvation of sorts. And of course, I started translating Rumi's poetry. The other thing that I learned from the savoring intervention is that joy is not a frivolous thing. It is our birthright. And right now, women in Iran are fighting for that birthright. They are going out there without hijab, which is against the law, and they get brutalized. But they're riding motorcycles, feeling the air flow through their hair. They're singing and dancing in public. That's how important joy is. And when they experience this joy, and then they go back and relive and remember this joy, they're also getting around the problem of the negativity bias. The negativity bias is what we have, what scientists call our tendency to observe and recall unpleasant moments while ignoring beneficial and good moments. How many of you have, 100 good or neutral things happen in your life, and you focus only on the one bad thing that happened that day? Does that happen to anyone? Oh yeah, all of us, all of us. This was supposed to be an evolutionary advantage to us. Why? Because our ancestors, when they came across a poisonous plant, a predator, this needed to make a huge impact on their nervous system. So those who survived would avoid such dangers in the future. But as part of my research, I interviewed Rick Hansen, who is a neuropsychologist, and he told me that the negativity bias is no longer a feature, it's now a design flaw. Because we're not allowing all those beautiful experiences, like what I experienced on the rooftop, or what Iranian women and men are experiencing by fighting for their joy and having that joy. We're not allowing that to become permanent neural structure. We're not, when we do that, when we recall and remember and strengthen, those neural connections strengthens. Instead, we're allowing the negativity to rule everything. But luckily, we have this thing called neuroplasticity. And we're able to do that via very simple, pleasurable ways of bringing joy into our lives. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. As our friend was talking about, it's just simple joys, right? One way that I bring this savoring into my life is through food, because you get to eat several times a day. And just by slowing down and noticing, for example, if you're drinking a cup of tea or coffee, noticing the texture of the cup, the heat or the temperature on your hands, noticing the first taste, the aroma. When we get our senses engaged, then we are able to savor more profoundly. And even when we're stressed, when we're like, oh, that was a good cup of coffee or tea, just remembering that helps us, helps change our neurobiology, literally. Another way that I bring joy into my life is through, as Jenny was saying, is through dance. When I came to the US, I came under extraordinary circumstances at the age of 14 without my parents. Why would, you ask, why would parents let unaccompanied minors come to the US? Well, I'm an example of that, and I see this at the border all the time. It wasn't safe for me. My sister's classmate, she was a senior in high school when she was executed. And I was engaging in acts of rebellion, like writing stuff on the walls that were anti-regime. And my parents were like, gotta get her out of here. So they brought me here to the US. And they were like, and I danced without my parents, without knowing English, in this strange planet called America, called the US. And I danced, and it made me feel better. So years later, as an adult, I realized I wanted to bring what was denied to me as a child, which was music and dancing, and what helped me acclimate to the US, to being in a strange country, which was dancing. And what I really longed for in those moments of homesickness and loneliness, which was so difficult for a 14-year-old, which was and I needed a sense of community. Now I dance with thousands of different refugees from all over the world. Yesterday I was dancing with 300 refugees in Tijuana, and we do that via Zoom now since the pandemic. We switched to Zoom because during the pandemic, dancing and joy was so important to the refugees that they were like, we need to have this. How can we have this? You can't come to the border. So I was like, all right, let's try Zoom. And ever since, we've been doing that every week. And then I go there once a month or two to dance in person and have a huge party together. And the shelter director tells me that after our sessions, there's so much fewer bickerings. There's a much better sense of cooperation. People are so happy. Headaches are gone, minor aches, minor depression, anxiety. And it just allows us to savor this pleasant moment together in community. When we savor together, it amplifies. It amplifies the effect of joy. Sometimes in the corner, there are kids who are so traumatized that they're shivering, even in the heat of July or August. And when they see adults, for one precious moment, put their burdens on the ground and let their hair down and dance and sing to the music that they love and they grew up with, they start thawing out and they start coming to join us. And when the parents and the adults see these kids who were a moment ago shivering start dancing, their joy amplifies. And when we see that, our joy amplifies. So it's just this beautiful explosion of joy everywhere. And at the end, you see that the kids are doing these, partner dancings and turns, complicated turns. And it's fantastic. And my friend Natal over there, She is my beautiful Iraqi singer and dancer. We did stuff here in San Diego together, and we put on performances with refugees from Afghan, Iranian, Iraqi, Syrian refugees at SDSU, at the Center for World Music. And it was just so beautiful that there was no dry eye in the audience. When you see acts of joy, your heart is filled too. So let's keep this savoring practice be just as our exercise practice. You can even incorporate it into your exercise. If you're walking, if you're moving, if you're listening to music, even imagining that you're doing these things, it's huge. Right now, we have a kind of a dysfunctional relationship with our imagination. We use it for worrying mostly, because that's our imagination, worrying, right? Imagination has to work even if we want it or don't. Or we imagine, oh, what did that person mean when they said that? You know, this imagining the worst thing in the world. Well, we can use our imagination just as we use our five senses to go into that beautiful sanctuary. We have this virtual reality machine that is so advanced within us, doesn't require a Wi-Fi, doesn't require a subscription fee, available 24/7. Why aren't we using it? We absolutely can. Reading books, listening to stories, imagining our own stories, writing our own stories. So powerful. I see if this savoring works for refugees in horrible situations, precarious situations at the US-Mexico border, and protesters in Iran, it absolutely can work for the rest of us. So let's savor often, let's do it together, and enjoy. Thank you so much.
Tall. Thank you so much. I was getting tears of joy as you were speaking. Thank you. That a lot to of useful counsel, I guess. And I wrote dance kiddo on in my palm to remind me to dance later on. Okay. And now do the offering. Can you hear me? For those of you on Zoom, you can go to, I think there's a link at the bottom of the page, and you can give online through breezechms.com, and then our ushers will come around the sanctuary and take your offering. I forgot to write down all the blah I'm supposed to say, but this congregation is supported by donations, and we are pretty small right now, and so any donation that you can give us will be mighty. So thank you. Barbara.
I'll be playing the song Gole Sangam, and this is interesting. I have a piano student who, because it was her senior year, was doing a little concert, sort of a goodbye for my other piano students, and her mother is from Iran, and she told me, yes, I'm singing this Persian song, and when I saw that you would be speaking. I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And then found out when I came in today that Ari and her husband had this song sung for their wedding, which is just a really lovely coincidence.
Beautiful. So we will now have the extinguish the chalice. No, we're not. Oh, Pierre is going to sing a hymn. We are going to sing a hymn with Pierre, but he's going to lead us.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow with the wind, let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. A child of born the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. star comes in the night. Without the dark there is no light. There is no light. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let the rain shimmer over the pain, and merry go round again. Let it be a dance.
Read the words. Do not, this is by Om Prakash. Do not sit alone in the dark while creation sings three-part harmony. Dance, my friends, dance wildly as the beloved turns your soul to light. Oh, I did that. Oh, is that right? Yeah, that's right. If I already read that, it bears repeating. So, okay. Closing. Oh, wait. As we close our service, you are invited to stay afterwards here for a time of community discussion or across the parking lot in the salon for coffee and conversation. So we'll have the closing circle song, and then we will have our discussion. Okay, I guess that's it. So there usually we have a